Hi, my name is Caitlin Gala. So I'm going to be talking about media literacy in TV programs. What is media literacy? So media literacy is the ability to access, analyze, evaluate, and communicate messages in a wide variety of forms. An overview of my lesson is throughout this lesson, students will be asked to review a TV show at home, prepare to discuss and evaluate the message behind an episode or news report. They will do this prior to coming to the lesson, and we will do an additional lesson during class. So they'll also have that experience with it, but this is more for their background knowledge. The lesson rationale, so the why behind this lesson. Why is this lesson important for media literacy? Students encounter a large source of media on their phones daily. It is important for students to identify the messages presented in media, especially when discussing future topics related to media literacy. So, Common Core alignment. There are a lot of Common Core standards that this lesson is going to reach, because whenever you have ELA standards, a lot of them mesh together. So you have RI1, this is for 6th grade, RI2, RI3, 4, 7, writing 2, writing 3, speech 2, and language 6, okay? Lots of standards. The objectives and outcomes for this lesson are students will analyze portrayals of different groups of people in the media. They will investigate social values presented in the media. They will analyze portrayals of teenagers in the media because that's what age we're looking at primarily. They will identify stereotypes presented through the media, and they will investigate television's influence on personal and societal values. So the materials that are going to be needed are a video clip of a popular sitcom from television for younger students. I have 6th graders, so obviously you want to make it age appropriate. A media observation sheet and a media awareness scavenger hunt sheet. Now I'm going to show you what those look like in the upcoming slides. This is an example of the media observation sheet. So you can look at the directions, documentation, and then like some questions. So obviously, time show started, time it ended. That's more or less, you can omit that as needed if you're doing it in your classroom. Media awareness scavenger hunt. This is another form that you're going to see that we're doing. And then that writing activity on bottom we're going to do eventually as well. Just pause the video, take a look at those questions. Preparation. In order to prepare for this lesson as an educator, you're going to find a sitcom that is popular among students. You're going to plan time on the computers to complete the scavenger hunt activity by yourself so that you can kind of account for how much time you think a student will take on that. Assign the digital version of the media observation sheet and the media awareness scavenger hunt sheet onto a learning management system. This can be Canvas, this can be Blackboard, this can be Google Classroom if you are Google powered. So just assigning that digital version. So the opening to the lesson. In order to introduce this lesson, we will begin by starting a class discussion. These are some of the questions that will be used to generate discussion. What is the media? How does the media make you feel? Has any information you received from the media ever angered you or made you feel really good? And do you feel represented, such as your race, your sex, your age, your talents, stuff like that? And students will be able to pick up on those and kind of piggyback off and make a more in-depth discussion prior to starting the lesson. The body of the lesson. So you're going to give them that media sheet, observation sheet, and then during class, you're going to view a small portion of a popular television program. You're not going to have time to view the whole entire thing. But while viewing that, have students complete the questions on the observation sheet. In order to model, while they're watching that television, pause that video, discuss various components of the activity that are included on the activity sheet, and that's how you're going to model for this lesson. For guided practice, after that initial practice was over, we're going to move into giving students that media awareness scavenger hunt sheet. Students should complete activities 1 through 12 by logging onto the media awareness website. There's a web address up at the top of that page. You're going to use that. Fill out the first 3 activity items with them as guided practice to ensure that they're able to navigate that website and get onto it. You want to make sure that every student's successful. For your independent practice, so after completing the scavenger hunt, students will write to answer the following prompt. If you were to develop a new TV program, what would it be like? In your description, include the following components: the type of show, the content of the show, the setting, the characters, rating of the show, the audience, and when you would air the show. I will use this rubric to assess their writing. And in order to conclude the lesson, students are going to discuss one thing that they took away from the lesson. We had certain learning objectives that I showed you at the beginning of this video. You want to make sure that you're meeting those objectives. And the best way to do that is to ask your students. In order to assess the student understanding, I will evaluate their writing during independent practice. So during independent practice, you saw that I had them write about creating a TV program with different elements added to it. This will be assessed using that writing rubric that was shown, and that's how I'm going to assess them on today's lesson. As well as you can check and see their participation by completing that scavenger hunt and that observation sheet during class. But that's more of monitoring. So for modification and differentiation, students will be able to have access to a printed handout if it's necessary. Headphones and text-to-speech will be used as needed because it is on the computer. They have access to that 24/7. Daily checklists will be displayed for all students. So this just basically gives a rundown of what students are expected to have completed at the end of the day. Then there's going to be a list of commercial links that will be provided for some students during the independent activity to use as a resource. So as they're writing, they may want to look up different commercials for new shows coming out and kind of get a feel for some shows, because some students don't have access to television, live television, and they don't have those experiences. So I'm offering it for those students. And if you just kind of want some creative juices flowing. Future lesson topics. So before I wanted to wrap this up, I wanted to go over where the next step is for this lesson. So we have talked about how we can take messages from media literacy and how we're going to show that to students, okay? But for future lesson topics, we're going to be looking at fake news versus real news, because that is kind of integrated into media literacy, and we can piggyback off that. We can go into using credible sources on the internet. We're not going to use Wikipedia because we know that's not a reliable source. And then where to find that accurate information. Again, you're not going to use Wikipedia. You're going to use a .org or a .gov to find that accurate information that you're looking for. And lastly, this is the source for my lesson plan. So if you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out.